Welcome to our special training series. This is Anthony Nitz, your productivity coach to real estate rock stars. Today we're going to be talking about picking the right geographic farm area. A lot of people have questions about picking the right area. They end up going into areas that end up not producing for them. We're going to show you today how to pick the right farm area, do it right every single time. We be smart about it. We don't guess. We don't do anything by guessing in real estate. So here we go. First of all, the objective: reveal the secrets behind the top producer farm choices and why they never miss. Become aware of the wrong way to pick a farm area so you don't do it, and pick the right farm area to cultivate for immediate and future business. Of course, farming is more of a long-term project, but there's no reason you can't get immediate business out of there as well. So how do top producing agents pick a farm area? Well, first of all, they research, then they research, and then they research some more. And once in a while, by luck, and purely by luck, do they find one that actually produces. But not very often. A lot of times agents pick the area they live in, or just the area that has the nice houses that they want to farm. And the problem with this is that they don't really know. They're just shooting in the dark as to whether or not they're in fact going to have a good farm area. So the wrong ways to pick a farm area. Let's look at these first. The first one is, it's such a nice neighborhood. Well, that's not necessarily the best farm area. There's some areas that I have farmed in the past that have been just not great neighborhoods, but man, they've got a lot of turnover, they've got a lot of conversion, and we made a lot of money in farming in some of the areas that were not the nice neighborhoods. I live there. That's not a great way to pick a farm either, because for example, the neighborhood I live in currently, there's about 220 homes in the neighborhood, and literally in the last 5 years, I have probably seen 5 real estate signs in the entire neighborhood. It's a neighborhood of people just don't leave, they don't move. So how can 5 sales in one neighborhood support your lifestyle over a 5-year period, no less? Some other agents some other agent farms there, so it must be paying off. Well, that's not necessarily true, because so many agents pick the wrong farm areas. We can't look at what other agents are doing and expect that that's going to give us the answer. I got a new listing there, so now it's my new farm. Well, I highly believe that when you have listings in an area, you should be banging on every single door around those farms. And when you start knocking on those doors, it's likely that you're going to start picking up some other listings. Now, if you can determine that that area is actually a productive area and is going to produce for you, well, heck yeah, add it to your farm list. But just because you got a new listing doesn't mean that that suddenly becomes your new farm area, because hopefully if you're doing any kind of decent production, within a year, now you have 20 farm areas. Well, one good producing farm area can give you some great results if you're focused. When you start spreading yourself too thin, then you end up losing that focus. You lose your market share in your primary farm areas, and then you're wondering why your farming isn't working. So picking the right farm area, here's a couple of things that you should do. First of all, get a farm package from your title rep for the entire city or area that you're interested in. And I say the entire city because I like to find the areas within the cities that are actually producing. Get it in a data file such as a CSV for Excel. Okay, that's very common, or in whatever format that you're familiar with. And using the correct sorting and filtering tools, pull out the data for the last 12 months. Don't just order the last 12 months worth of sales from your title company, because you need total numbers. You need all the numbers for the entire city. And then you're going to sort the filtered data, and I sort it by tract number because that's the easiest way to identify homes that are grouped into a specific area. If you sort it by tract number, then you're going to be able to identify the number of homes in that specific tract, which will kind of start to show you the hot spots, as you'll see. Side note of that, you can use whatever criteria, whatever geographic criteria you have available to you to sort that. So you can sort it by streets, you can sort it by starting out by the zip code, by the I don't know, I guess the street numbers. It just depends on how your geographic area is laid out. Scroll through your sorted and filtered data and watch for multiple incidents of the same tract number. And flag or write down these track numbers and then how many properties showed up for future reference. So for example, if track number 13502 for example has 64 sales in it in the last 12 months, well, shoot, then we probably might want to look at that one and see what's going on in that particular area, and if it's the area that we want to start to investigate. Once you have identified 4 or 5 different track numbers that appear to have higher activity, go back to the full data view of all the records you originally received and filter the data by those track numbers that you identified, and note the total number of properties associated with that track. So first we want to find out where the activity is happening. And then once we identify the activities, like I said, if you find a particular tract has 64 sales in it, now you want to go back and get the total number of those properties that are associated with that tract. And the reason is because when you divide the number of homes sold in the last 12 months by the total number of homes in the tract, you're going to get a percentage. So for example, if there's 19 homes or 19 sold in the last 12 months divided by 226, it equals 0.08 or 8%. This number is your turnover percentage. You want to work areas that have higher turnover so that you can make quicker income. In the typical real estate market, it is said that normal is about 10%. That should be the goal, but if you're in a low inventory market, you may need to go as low as a 5% turnover. Anything less than that might just be a lot of work for a little effort. Now you know the turnover rate and have identified several neighborhoods that have business that can sustain your goals. Other things to consider: finding one tract number that has high turnover rate may be adjacent to or overlap other tract numbers that aren't as high of a turnover. Decide if you want to include those tracts as well in case the trend spreads. But keep an eye on it. We always have to be analyzing and making sure that we're doing the smart work and not the hard work. Keep a watchful eye on the tract that you're working and continue to analyze every month. Certain tracts may have exhausted their sellers due to unknown anomalies like ordinance or zoning changes, perceived anticipation of a market shift. You remember Y2K, everybody was selling their homes because they thought that the world was going to collapse. Well, after that, a lot of people weren't selling their homes because they weren't as fearful. So the next step is to analyze the competition. You want to see if there's any dominant force within the neighborhood. Using your MLS system, enter the tract number and pull all the sales in the last 12 months. Note, the number of sales that you pull from your MLS may not match the number of sales that are recorded by the MLS, and it's simply because there's other types of transfers that happen that are not part of the MLS, like or interfamily transfers, some foreclosures, some other types of transactions that don't get handled by a real estate agent or put into the MLS. And that's okay. We're just trying to see if anyone has a dominant market share for those transactions that are being done by real estate agents. So once you've entered the tract number and the sales date to include the last 12 months foreclosed transactions, you should see the listing agent's names. You should easily be able to identify multiple occurrences of the same agent's name. Divide the number of sales each agent has made by the total number of sales reported. For example, Agent A has 7 sales divided by 19 total sales, which is 30.36 or 36% market share. Agent B has 4 sales divided by 19 total sales, or 21% market share. If any one agent has more than 50% market share, consider moving on to a different area or investigate further. I'm going to tell you about what I did in one area. There was an agent who had probably about 45% market share, and nobody wanted to compete against this guy, but I actually went to the listings, to the homes of the listings of the people who did not list with this guy. Because remember, there's 55% of them were not listing with him. They were listing with other random independent companies and whatnot. And when I did that, I asked them, I said, hey, you didn't list with my competitor. Can you tell me, did you talk to him initially? And if you did, why didn't you list with him? And the answer that I got in almost every single case was, he's a jerk. And his attitude was very abrupt, very bossy, very pushy. You do what I tell you to do, or else you'll never get the price that you're looking for. And I don't mess with people who don't pay attention to me, blah, blah, blah. Well, people didn't realize it was because of the marketplace that home values were going up, not because of this agent, but he played into it, and he played into it very well. Well, because I realized everybody thought that I was a jerk, or thought that he was a jerk, I came in and I played the nice guy scenario. I was the nice guy. I was friendly, talk with everybody, love their pets, all that good stuff. I wasn't too harsh with people, and as a result, I ended up picking up about 35% market share. From that point on, me and him went back and forth at about 35% market share for several years prior to the market changing. So you can investigate somebody who has a higher market share and figure out why they have that market share and what you can do that's different. We don't want to try to emulate what somebody else is already doing. They're already doing it. We lose credibility when we do that. So we find out a different way to approach it. Statistics tell us that 7% of most of people who buy and sell or who buy homes say that they would end up using the other agent. And the most important thing is because they don't do follow-up. And if they don't do follow-up, then how can you expect somebody to remember who you are 2 or 3 years later? So remember that too within your farm area. If we're constantly farming to our area so that they remember us and we can get that repeat referral business. If there's no clear dominant agent in the area, attack. Know your message and deliver it consistently and constantly. It's only yours for the taking. Remember, only 7% repeat their business and or give repeat business just because of failure to follow up. So if no agent has 50% or more market share, you can probably safely attack that farm area. Again, know the competition, become the neighborhood expert, offer a different message than the dominant agent does. You don't want to try to mimic what they're doing. Come up with a different offering. There's a book that I read. It's called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. The law of being first and creating a new category are the first 2 laws. It's very, very, very important to understand. So read it. It's a very valuable tool. Some key benefits by properly analyzing your farm area before you start farming. You can save lots of time and money by not farming to people who never plan to move, not farming to people who clearly are committed to a well-established and favored agent. If you've been working a farm for a while, you can still conduct this research and regain focus and clarity on your existing farm and just strengthen your position there. Simply do it. If you're looking for more tips like this, subscribe to this site that you found this on, or this channel that you found this on, or call Anthony Nitz directly at 714-900-2710. If you're considering a career with Keller Williams, or if you're just considering making a move, check out the site joinkeller.com. That's JOIN Keller.com. Let us know if you're a real person. Leave us a comment and rate this video. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, just wanted to show you an example of what it looks like when you have the data here and how you're going to look at it and manipulate it. So for example, I got this information from the title company. They exported it into a comma separated value format, and you'll see it includes the different fields: site address, prefix, street name, city, zip, all that stuff, owner. It has all the different information that's in here. The thing that I'm looking for so that we can sort this effectively is like tract number. So we scroll over here and we're moving. Where did it go? There's a parcel number. Okay, and so now we have tract number. So now you can see that there's multiple incidences. If we sort this field by tract number, you'll see it'll put all those tract numbers in order. Okay, and while this is not intended to be a class on data manipulation, it's important to understand kind of what the process is going here. So what I've done is I've taken this and I'm using special tools to do this so that I don't have to manually count everything. But what I found is that, and if I sort this by priority, I say, okay, for each individual tract number, which tract has the most activity? And when okay, so you have this one. Oh well, there's only one property in this tract number and one transaction. Well, obviously that's like a glitch thing or something like that. So you got to kind of skip over some of those. But then you get over here and you go, okay, there's 49 properties in this particular tract number, and there's 6 sales. So that works out to be 12.24% turnover for that particular tract. That's interesting to me. If something's turning over 12.24%, and now we get into it farther and we can find out how many or what the price point is and whatnot, find out if there's some sort of special thing happening there that's creating a high turnover. But look at this, 297, and there's 35 that have turned over, so it's 11.78%. 11.36. So there are places where there's a lot of turnover. 180, well, there's 18. That's an even 10% that is turning over in these particular tract numbers. So my question is to you, if you can find tract numbers in the area or city that you are living in that have a certain amount of turnover, and you can identify that it doesn't have the competition, then why would you work in this tract number? There's 67 homes, but there's only been one sale in the last 12 months. Is that going to feed your family? No. And oftentimes I have agents tell me, Anthony, but I love that neighborhood and I really want to work that neighborhood and that's a great area and people who live there love the area. Hey, hot dog, good for them. But guess what? They're in that tract number. They are not going to be making any kind of sales in any time real soon, and so you're going to starve. So focus on the tract numbers where there's activity. Even look at this one. There's 11 in this tract number, so 27.27%. Now, if that's me, I'm focusing just on those 11 homes and find out what's going on. And maybe some of these tracts are surrounding these 11 homes too, but don't get sucked into the idea that just because there's activity in one tract number, that the surrounding tract numbers are going to produce the same results. You have to do your research. So hopefully that helps clarify the issue of identifying the hot spots within the city or area that you are trying to establish yourself. Okay, so now to analyze the market share part of this equation. In our local MLS, I'm doing, for example, if I have the city Rancho Santa Margarita that I am searching, I put that in here, and I selected all statuses, and we have to have a price field in there of minimum price, so I just put 1 because I want to see all properties, and then I'm going to scroll down here. I actually put a list date. I want to see all properties that are listed in the year 2009 because we're just looking at 12 months past. So with that, I can go ahead and click on search, or I can just click on download, and what's going to happen is it's going to ask me what fields do I want. It's 1187 records, and I say create download, and it's going to work on creating that download. Okay, then this little pop-up window is going to pop up, and it might ask you for some security protection stuff, whatever, that's fine. I'm clicking on download the file, and so I'm downloading these records. I'm going to save it to my computer, and I'm going to choose where it's going to save to. So documents, we'll just call it here, and we'll say, I'm going to call it something else. Farm analysis. Okay, I'm going to Save it as a text document. Okay, so now once it's done downloading, I am going to take it into my other software, and we're going to analyze the data and do some comparison. So here we go. We're going to do that right now. Okay, so now we're trying to take a look at the competition for the particular area. So, like for example, we had our chart here that had these numbers, and you saw this one had 49, and there's 6 sales in there. We want to find out who's got the dominant market share. So I actually use this tool. Guys, again, this is not a class in data manipulation, so don't get all freaked out by this. You may have to count manually, and if you do, then do so. Don't use this as an excuse not to do your proper analysis. So you see we've got this track number right here, and I put it in here, which sets the criteria for this tool that I'm using. And then I do oops, wrong one. Then I do the search on this one, and it tells me that in this particular track that nobody has more than 1 sale. So granted, there's been, as you see here, there's 6 sales in this track, but nobody has had more than 1 sale except for this person with this MLS ID, which you can go into the MLS and look up and see who they are and do a little more research on your competition. And in this case, when we're talking about 6 sales, we're talking about 2 of them. Well, that's 33% market share, but not enough to scare me away from going after that particular market. So let's take a look at another one. So like this one here, there's 35 sales in this one. So I'd be interested to see. So I'm going to use this criteria to copy and put in here as the search criteria to see who's got the dominant market share. I'm going to put that track number in there. It's in there, and I'm going to go back and have it do the search for me and count it. And if you take a look, 35 sales. Now look at this. There's only there's only 2 people who have done more than 1 transaction in there. So out of 35 sales, this person has, less than a 10% market share. So not something I'm afraid of. It does not seem to me like that is a dominant person in that particular track. I'm interested to see if I can find a track here that does in fact have a dominant market share, just so we can see what that looks like. Let me see about this one here. And again, we scroll down, and again, nobody has more than 2 transactions. That's the one that has the most transactions in there. So you can see when we're why would we focus on an area that has less than a 10% market share in our area when nobody has the competition, when there's no competition in there? There's no competition. We could go in and crush those farm areas. So go out there, do it, make your mark on that particular neighborhood, own it, dominate it, and it's all yours for the taking. Go get it. Take care.